All right, I'm sending you this for your drive home.
What?
Except it's 6 minutes, so yeah, that could maybe work for
Oh,
you.
send it to me,
So Dan, you know Crazy, my Dan producer guy? Oh
please. Yeah.
my God, I already have 28 views. So part of his lungs sucked out because he had cancer in his lung. So one of his friends is like a singer-songwriter, so he like reached out to everybody. I'm glad he told me before the operation, which was Monday, and we all did songs for him.
A sea doer.
So I did Bach for him,
Oh,
and so that's what the video is. So that's what I'm sending you. He's fine. He like posted pictures of himself on Facebook. He looked totally good. They didn't open him up. They just sucked it out of the side, which is
well, thank God. He may be very, very lucky.
yeah.
Up is on.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. So nice to see you. I don't know about you, but this was a really busy week for me. And I really need Shabbos. I really need Shabbat. I really need to take a breath, to relax. Now, there's something wrong with the sound because
She'll get it. She'll get it. It's a little hot.
Okay. So I hope this is going to be like a peaceful, beautiful service this evening. I have something special to share with you a little later. But first, I would like you to turn to someone and wish them Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom.
And in the spirit of peace, I would like to remind you to silence or turn off your cell phones so we don't have any electronic interruptions. This week's Torah portion, and I'm going to be talking about something about it, and I guess our bar mitzvah boy could also talk about it, but I'll let him do that tomorrow, his bar mitzvah, is about the building of the Mishkan, the dwelling, the portable sanctuary that crossed the desert. We'll talk about that in a minute, but first we're going to open with a song that is connected to that idea.
Please turn to page 172 for Ma Tovu. Ma Tovu is a collection of phrases from the Torah, from the book of Numbers and Psalms, and it speaks to this very point that Rabbi Nanis is going to elucidate later on in the service about the holy dwelling place of God, the Mishkan, this structure that was built to house the tablets of the covenant where God's presence would exist in this holy place. Matovu speaks to that very thing. How beautiful are your tents, your dwelling places, God. And it refers to that word, Mishkan, and how much we love to be in God's presence. So page 172, you can follow the text, and we'll begin. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. Ma tovu alecha Yaakov, Mishkenotecha Yisrael. ואני ברוב חסדך אבוא ביתך אשתחווה לכל קודשך ביראתך מה טובו עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. מה טובו עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. אדוני אהבתי מאוד, מאוד ביתך, ומקום משכן, ומקום משכן, משכן כבודך. מה טובו עליך יעקב, משכנותיך ישראל. עליך יעקב, משכנותיך
אני אשתחווה ואקרא אברך לפני אדוני עושי מה טובו עליך יעקב משכנותיך ישראל מה טובו עליך יעקב משכנותיך ישראל ואני תפילתי לך אדוני את רצון אלוהים ברוב חסדך ענני באמת באמת ישעך ועליך יעקב משכנותיך ישראל מה טובו עליך יעקב משכנותיך ישראל משכנותיך
So now that we're in the Mishkan, we're in the sacred dwelling, how good it is to be together. Hine ma tov u'ma na'im on page 10.
מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב. לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד.
So this weekend, Braden Scher is having his bar mitzvah. Mazel tov to the whole family, and I'd like to invite his mom, Karen, and his sister to come up and light the Shabbat candles. Please turn to page 2.
We bring the light of Shabbat in.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam
We turn to page 16. Page 16. And we'll join in one of our beautiful Shabbat psalms. Page 16. This section of the psalm asks us to sing to God, literally. Zamru l'Adonai, sing to God with the lyre, which was an ancient harp. Right? Sing to God on the lyre and with melodious song, with trumpets and the blast of the horn. Shout before God. So many of our psalms begin this way. Sing to God, sing to God, sing to God, and play instruments before God. So page 16, as refrains tend to do, this one will repeat those opening phrases, Zamru l'Adonai. So join me on page 16, if you will.
Zamru l'Adonai, Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor, Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor b'kol zimra, Chatzotzrot b'kol shofar, Hariu lifnei HaMelech Adonai, Hariu lifnei HaMelech Adonai. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai. Zamru l'Adonai, Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor, Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor b'kol zimra. Yai lai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai lai.
That sounds like an Irish folk tune, doesn't it? Right? And it's appropriate, of course, it is
St. Patrick's Day.
After all, right? Some of us have some green, wearing some green tonight, right?
So the root of the word Mishkan is shachen, and there are many words that come from shachen, and one of them is Shekhinah. Shekhinah, who knows what Shekhinah is? What is the Shekhinah? The female divine presence of God. The Shekhinah is considered the feminine aspect of God. And on Shabbat, the Shekhinah is part of the Shabbat bride, the Shabbat queen. So we have the Mishkan, which we're going to see pictures of in a little while, our sanctuary. Now we have the Shekhinah, the feminine divine presence that really is the most powerful on Shabbat. In our beautiful Shabbat song, the Chadodi, on page 20. So please turn to page 20.
Chadodi likrat kahala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu el ha'miyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad l'shem u'tiveret v'litehila Lecha Adoni Lecha Adoni likrat kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Lecha Adoni likrat kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nei lecha Ki im lekor habracha Mehirosh mikedem b'zucha Sov ma'aseh b'machshava tchila Lecha Adoni Lecha Adoni likrat kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Lecha Adoni likrat kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Hit'oreri, Ki va'orei Kumi ori, Shir daveri Kevod Adonai alayek nigla Lecha Adoni Lecha Adoni likrat kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Lecha Adoni likrat kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat
We rise and we turn to the back and we welcome the Shabbat bride, the Shekhinah, into our midst.
Boi v'shalom ateret bala Gam b'simcha u'b'tzahola Toch emunei am segula
Boi kala, boi kala.
Adoni likrat kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Lecha Adoni likrat kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Lecha Adoni likrat kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat Lecha Adoni likrat kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalat
We remain standing. We turn to page 28 for the Baruch Hu, the call to prayer.
La 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach
page 30, and join with me at the bottom of the page in English. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tzvaot is your name, ever-living God. May you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're welcome. We continue on, well, you should have joined me, page 32, as we sing of God's love for the Jewish people, which is how, by giving us beautiful Torah, a beautiful way of life, that's how God shows his love to us. And how do we show our love to God? By accepting these beautiful laws, teaching them to our children, and continuing our 3,000-year-old heritage. Ahavat Olam.
אהבת עולם, בית ישראל, עמך אהבת. תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת. על כן, אדוני, אלוהינו, בשוקנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך. על כן, אדוני, אלוהינו, בשוקנו ובקומנו, נשיח בחוקיך. ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד.
Please be seated, and we invite the bar mitzvah boy in a preview of tomorrow to lead us in the Via Hafta.
Where do I start? Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, ובטחתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתיכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We're going to read together on page 37.
Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work. Whether you are tired or you are rested, let them guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the forefront of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. They are reminders to do all of my mitzvot, so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God.
That was beautifully done.
So another root from Mishkan and Shechina is shachen. Shachen means neighbor in Hebrew. It means neighbor. So what makes somebody a neighbor as opposed to just someone you know or even a friend? What is the quality of a neighbor that distinguishes this person, your neighbors, from others, would you say? Anybody? They live close to you. There's a closeness, exactly. And sometimes you have the same experiences because your neighbors, if there's an earthquake, if there's a flood, it's your neighbors that, you turn to, that even if you don't know them, when something bad happens, you get to know your neighbors really fast. And so this idea of closeness is another part of the idea of the Shekhinah being close to us and the Mishkan, this dwelling place is where God is going to be close to us. So it's all connected. And there's one more word, shikun, which means neighborhood. So all of these words are about being close. And that's sort of the theme of what the Mishkan, and most people don't even know when we say Mishkan, it's this traveling, you'll see, traveling sanctuary that the Israelites set up as they went across the desert because they always wanted to have God close to them. So we continue now with the original neighbors. They were neighbors in Egypt when they were slaves. They were neighbors when they crossed the sea, and they were neighbors when they sang this beautiful song of gratitude to God, the Mi Chamocha on page 40.
And here's some good news from Israel. This composition is by a wonderful, young, talented composer from Israel, Oran Eldor. So enjoy it. And it has a kind of a refrain, which I think you're going to enjoy singing or humming along with. Mi Chamocha.
Mi chamocha ha'elim Adonai, mi chamocha ba'elim, mi chamocha nedar ba'kodesh, mi chamocha nedar. No Adonai Imloch Le'olam Va'ed. Adonai Imloch Le'olam Va'ed. Michamocha Ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha Ba'elim, Michamocha Ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha Ne'edah B'kodesh. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל. אמן.
The Hashkivenu prayer is a prayer asking God to spread a shelter of peace, a sukkah of peace over us and over the world. And this week, and these last few months or even past year, there's been so much turmoil, so much war and violence that we need this prayer for peace so badly, more than ever. And I want to read the English on the bottom of page 42 because it's beautiful to sing the Hebrew, but what are we saying? And let's really say this with our hearts, the English. Grant, O God, that we lie down in peace and raise us up our guardian to life renewed. Spread over us the shelter of your peace. Guide us with your good counsel for your name's sake to be our help. Shield and shelter us beneath the shadow of your wings. Defend us against enemies, illness, war, famine, and sorrow. Distance us from wrongdoing. For you, God, watch over us and deliver us. For you, God, are gracious and merciful. Guard our going and coming to life and to peace evermore.
השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, לשלום, והעמידנו מלכנו לחיים. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Amen. 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 Amen.
So one of the most radical inventions, I think, in civilization is the idea of a day of rest, which the Jewish people introduced to the world. This was a radical thinking idea. In Rome and Greece, they said that those Jews are lazy. They don't work. Once a week, they don't work. What is wrong with them? Not only do they don't work, their slaves don't work, their animals don't work. They thought it was crazy. And yet, now the whole world knows how important rest is and peace is. And if God rested in our tradition, certainly we deserve rest, and I hope you will give yourself the gift of Shabbat, of rest, whatever that means to you. And so we have this beautiful song on page 44 about how the people of Israel keep Shabbat because it's a covenant between us and God. That's how holy Shabbat is. Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית העולם. ושמרו ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת. וביום השביעי שבת, שבת, וביום השביעי שבת, שבת, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We now rise and turn to page 46 for the Amidah, the standing prayer. This is the prayer where we've been thanking God and singing God's praises. We get to ask God for what we need. This is the prayer of requests, opening our heart, talking to God from our personal place.
Okay, come closer.
Adonai sefer tartita uviyagi techilateha. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzhak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekoneh Hakol, Vezocher Hasdei Avot Ve'imachot, Umevi Geula Livnei V'nechem, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחלחל חיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לה, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לך חיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל.
We continue silently with our own personal meditations and prayers, or the words of our beautiful Siddur, our prayer book. When the ark is closed, you may be seated.
Our prayer for peace, page 60, Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav ad Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav ad Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Ki atah melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atah melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim le'olam. Tov enecha levarech et amcha Yisrael, et kol yoshevei tevel Shalom Rava Yisrael Amcha Tasim Le'olam.
We take a moment now. We've prayed for ourselves to say prayers for those in our lives who need a blessing of healing, who need a prayer of healing, physical healing, spiritual healing, emotional healing. And if there's someone in your life that you would like to be blessed for healing, please rise now. And when I point to you, say their name out loud that we may hear their names. And say them loud. Thank you. 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 If you're watching at home, please say the names of your loved one out loud. And we have some of you who may be here or are watching. We bless you also. Nicole Alkov, Isaac Ashorzadeh, Simon Aziz, Emily Blau, Carol Brook, Chaim David, Jacob Friedman, Merlot Gadushi, Levi Jonathan, James Klein, Jack Liebhaber, Michael Levy, Ronald Lanicki, Philip Marber, Gila Mashkinian, Josh Mills, Annette Pansky, Trevor Sangster, Charles Schwartz, Margie Cebulski, Karen Shanbrum, Alan Soroti, Meryl Werber, Stacy Wernick, Michelle Zweig. We bless you all. We turn to page 253 for the Misha Berach.
Sheberach Avoteinu Mekor HaBracha Reimoteinu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misheberach Imoteinu Mekor HaBracha Lavoteinu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
I I just want to share the power of the Mishaberach. The last name on my list was Michelle Zweig because she had COVID, and here she is today, all healed because we said Mishaberachs for her. So don't doubt the power of the Mishaberach. So I wanted to talk to you or share to you something I thought was really interesting. And this is what went on in the temple, what went on in the Mishkan. What did it look like? What did all the instruments look like? What are they talking about? Personally, when I'm reading it in the Torah, my eyes cross from boredom. I don't know what they're saying. They're saying 20 cubits this and 30 cubits that, and it's this long, and it's this, and it's that. And I go, I can't visualize it. But I found actually images that I wanted to share that I found very interesting. The first one being, what did the priests wear? So this is what the high priests wore. They wore this very special tunic. Sometimes they wore a crown, and on top it said God's name. They wore this thing called the ephod, which was an apron of many colors. Then they wore this royal blue tunic, and if you notice on the bottom there are bells. And then they wore this white undergarment with a sash. And they also wore this very amazing breastplate. If you notice it, it has 12 beautiful stones, gemstones, each one for one of the 12 tribes. Now, underneath, according to what the Torah said, underneath was something called the Urim and the Tumim, which they don't, if you want to move or come over, you can move. Maybe I can push this a little forward. Hold on. Is that better? Okay. I'm going to get help here. So, and what they said was, Urim and Tumim were these mystical names of God. It meant light and purity. And according to what it said, you just turned it off. What did you do? Okay, thank you. You would ask the priest a question. There would be these names of God behind this breastplate. They would concentrate, and the gems would light up and spell out an answer. It's kind of like a Ouija board. It would spell out an answer. And they could, like, should we go to war? Will we win? They would focus, and they would be able to give the answer. Now, take a look at this, and I want to show you something. What do you see? When the temple was destroyed, the rabbis took the clothing of the priests and put it on the Torah. The breastplate, the bells, and the crown. So all of this was put on the Torah in order to keep holiness with us. So this is the priests were dressed in a very specific way. And each part of their clothing represented a different sin that they were hoping to prevent us from, prevent us from sinning. So they said, the breastplate of judgment, which is this breastplate, was to prevent the miscarriage of justice. The ephod, which is this apron, this colorful apron, was to protection against succumbing to idolatry, because apparently they would dress their idols in these beautiful cloths and clothes. The fringed tunic would protect against bloodshed because it reminded you of Joseph apparently in his many-colored coat. And the robe, which covered the body, was against unchastity. So this was the white for that. And the headdress was against prideful and arrogant thoughts. So all of this had this meaning. And then they would go to the Mishkan. What did the Mishkan look like? So this is a diagram of what it was. The Mishkan was in the center, and all the tribes were around it. And Aaron and his sons and Moses, their little tent was facing the entrance. Can everybody see this? So this was a shikun. The Mishkan was in a shikun. The Mishkan was in a neighborhood, and there was this wall around it. And so this is what it looked like. This is the altar. I'm going to show you close up. And this was this beautiful ewer, E-W-E-R, for water, where they would cleanse themselves. And then in there was the Holy of Holies. So we'll see that. So here's another look at it, closer up. It's very beautiful, the people all around. It was colorful. There were all these beautiful tapestries. And there was always, can you imagine the smell? There was always something burning, a sacrifice. And then the priests would always be washing their hands and their feet in this, it's like not a fountain, but a receptacle for the water. So the basin. So this was the outside, and there was always smoke coming up, and then there was this smoke inside, too. So this is a close-up of the outdoor altar, where it was always burned. This was made of bronze, and they were constantly sacrificing there, unless they were on the go. They were crossing the desert, but then they would set up, and they would do this immediately. And here's a close-up of here's another view of it. And here are all the tools that they needed to put things in the fire and, the barbecue tools, basically. That's what they are, if you look at them. For taking out the blood and whatever, and raking the coals and all that. That's what it looked like. And here is a look at the close-up of the beautiful water basin. So this is just before you go in. Now, not anybody could go in. Moses went in, and then Aaron went in, and that's it. So what's inside? These are the things that we're going to see. These are all the beautiful things that were inside, but we're going to look at them closer, one by one. So here's the menorah. It was made of gold, pure gold. It was beautiful. Now, this is the exact menorah that later on in the temple, the Hanukkah menorah, this is what they lit. It was in the temple as well. It wasn't an 8-branch candelabra. That's only for Hanukkah. It was a 6-branch with a 7th in the middle. And if you go to our Glazer sanctuary and you look at the murals, one of them is the Romans, after they destroyed the Second Temple, they're carrying this off. They're carrying off this menorah. So this menorah has been, for how long was that? This was made in 1200 BCE, and it was carried off in 70 CE. So it was for a long time a very, very holy thing, and that's why it was so important. And it should be lit at all times. The Ner Tamid stands for this today. The Ner Tamid is this. Now, most people don't know about this. There were these things called the showbread, or these 12 loaves that they baked and put out every single day inside. Kind of looks like pita, right? It looks like pita. So and the challah comes from this. The challah that we have, it's twisted, but the challah comes from this. So we turn our own home, and lighting candles, our Shabbos candles, was also a reminder of the menorah. So basically, after the temple was destroyed, we turned our homes into the sanctuary. Okay. This is something most people don't know. There was incense burning all the time in the temple and in the Mishkan. This is the beautiful incense holder. There's the incense. There's the little plates to hold things. So there was incense. I have another view of it. It was beautiful. So that was the incense. And here's the Ark of the Covenant, the Ark that the Ten Commandments are in. And you see they have these cherubim, these angels with their wings. And the Ten Commandments were in here, and there was this idea that God basically dwelled right above this in the Holy of Holies. So what did the whole thing look like? Here's how it looked on the inside. The first chamber had the showbread, the incense, and the menorah. And then there was this curtain, and then you went into the Holy of Holies where only the high priest went. And there was the ark. And this is the beautiful design of how it looked. And this is what they carried across the desert with them. And then they transported this into the temple, when they built the temple. So I just thought that would be very interesting, and what we need to realize is in the ancient world, they needed this fancy place to have God's presence. But the rabbis understood when the temple was destroyed that we can create our own space for God's presence in our homes, in our hearts, in our families. We don't need gold. We need some light, some candles. We need some bread. We need some wine. We need each other. And that is how we create a sanctuary today. Shabbat Shalom. So just before we conclude, I have a few announcements. This Sunday is this amazing concert, so the Sephardic Latino Connection. It's at the Glazer campus. It's at 4 o'clock. It's with a Los Angeles Jewish Symphony, and it's music of Ladino music, Sephardic music, Latino music, Mizrahi music, and Persian music. It's free. We have so far 700 people attending, but as you know, we have 1,600 seats, so there's plenty of room for you if you'd like to come to the Glazer campus. Monday night, we're having right here a speaker on anti-Semitism and the entertainment industry, and we have a speaker coming to talk about that. Also, March 26th, next Sunday, there is a cooking program. Come experience chefs Diane Worthington, Micah Wexler, Frieder, and Toby Burkow as they share recipes and tips for Passover. And that's in the Glazer campus in the kitchen. And on the 29th, that's a Wednesday, we're having an interactive, multi-generational women's Seder that you're all invited to. It's great. It's all the women. It's the women clergy. It's a women band. And it's the women's side of the story. And on the second night of Pesach, if you don't have a second Seder to go to, we'll be having a community Seder here as well. So a lot of Pesach stuff to share with you. So now we're going to conclude as we turn our thoughts to memory and thinking of those who have passed away as we prepare to say Kaddish. And we begin with... First of all, if anyone is observing a yort site or the first 30 days, we ask you to stand now so we can know who you are. And we begin with those who passed away during the Shloshim, the last 30 days. Sylvia Bialik, Sam Davis, Judith Susan Gelb, Lucas Foster, Celia Goldman, Sharon Levy Jaffe, Joey Klein, Arnold Palmer, Ronald Schiff, Clara Stovitz, Richard Sutkin, Susanna Teasaby, Joan Vogel. Are there any other names from the last 30 days? We also remember those whose yort sites occurred this past week or this upcoming week for some of you, the anniversaries of their deaths. Ruth Anyon, Lynn Baumwoll, Robert Boebert, Vernon Lee Bell, Ellis Berkowitz, Joyce Bernstein, Vera Barron, Ted Bird, Harold Bernkrant, Sam Bluestone, Harold Chessel, Betty Checkenow, Irving Cohen, Rose Cohen, Joel Davidson, Mitchell James Dresser, Harriet Ellis, Marty Feldman, Ray Fenton, Doug Gerson, Aaron Glickman, Harold Globe, Helen Goldfeeder, David M. Goodman, Warren Goodman, Stephen Grad, Minna Groden, Max Guest, Henry Harrar, Jack Harris, Sharon Ray Hayden, Elizabeth Hoffman, Evelyn Horn, Richard Horowitz, Alfred Hyman, Rose Jaffe, Ralph Kalish, Moran Kaplan, Ann Kaplan, Ruth Katz, Lee Kymack, Harry Kirshheimer, Carl Klein, Anna Klein, Sidney Kolpas, Selma Konitz, Daniel Krasnow, Gary Kress, Ed Landa, Richard Carl Levi, Faye Levitt, Larry Lindman, Ann Liddy, Russell Lomask, Yusuf Mobabianfard, Al Michaels, Samuel Michaels, Joseph Natker, Eunice Nazarian, Carol Neiman, Mort Newman, Saul Newman, Leonard Perlman, Raymond Perlov, Paul Garfield Phelps, Leonard Phillips, Simon Plattis, Michael Portis, William Pryor, Louis Reisman, Irving Rice, Ann Robinson, Pauline Rose, Helen Rosen, Irv Rubenstein, Fanny Rubenstein, Vera Solomons, Nazanin Sarafzadeh, Nina Schwartz, Ruth Schwartz, Larry Schwimmer, Betty Shanbrom, Joel Shanbrom, Teresa Shapiro, Joel Smasson, Blossom Smith, Susan Serrera, Randy Stein, Natalie Stein, Betty Strawgate, Saeed Tabibi, Elisa Torkian, Robert Tushin, Arthur Tucker, Marvin Twaddle, William Roland Wallen, Israel Weisberg, Rose Weistein, Constance Whitney, Esther Winsky, Margalit Sadok. Are there any other names to add? We also remember those who gave their lives defending the United States of America and the State of Israel, and those who have died in senseless violence, terrorism, war, and disease, and those who have no one to say Kaddish for them. We take them all as our own as we all rise and turn to page 294 for the Kaddish. Okay, sorry. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chaye chonu v'yomei chonu v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kari v'yimru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah v'varach le'olam homei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiran v'yalma v'yimru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
We want to offer our gratitude to our wonderful musicians. You may keep playing while I'm talking. Bill Beck at the piano, Leo Shalyapov on clarinet and flute, and Hope Easton on cello. Thank you so much.
And please remain here just for Kiddush and Motzi with the B'nai Bar Mitzvah family after.
Oseh shalom imromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
Yes, I'll make Kiddush from here.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri agafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lemase v'reshit, ki hu yom techilach lemikrae kodesh, zecher yitziat מצרים, כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. אמן. לחיים. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם, המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Amen. Pull it apart. 1, 2, 3. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Come to the table for Kiddush and Motzi. And Oneg. The Oneg Shabbat.